wanted to find the best, the guy that knew the most about this big behemoth of an aircraft behind me, Master Sergeant Jim Lawler, a New England guy, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so here we have an amazing vehicle here. Tell me, what am I looking at? What am I at the mouth of here?
You are at the mouth of a C-5 Galaxy. This is a B model airplane, which means it's the second generation. This one was built in the 80s.
Okay.
The first generation was built in the 60s.
Yep.
And this aircraft is capable of flying globally. Typically the crew consists of a minimum of 2 pilots, 2 flight engineers, and 3 load masters. And the pilots obviously fly the aircraft. The engineers are responsible for fuel and the systems, which would be air conditioning and heat, and the hydraulics. And the load masters are responsible for on and offloading the cargo, weight and balance. And we determine where the best place is to put everything for ease of on and offload. And sometimes we would go into a combat situation and we would have to position the cargo for an immediate deployment if those troops were going to engage in a force immediately.
So what I like about the air show here is that the public can actually come and see what this stuff is like. Normally, you know, you don't get access to something like this, but on a day like today, I mean, look, this is just open for everyone to take a look, right?
True, and it's a great opportunity for both the public and for us because we like to show everybody what we do on a daily basis and share our life and our experiences. So it's a really unique situation. So you can get 6 Greyhound buses on here with no problem at all to try to put it into perspective of size.
What kind of landing space do you need as far as runway room and all that?
It depends on the weight and the heat. That's what limits the ability of the aircraft. So the cooler that it is and the less weight, we need a shorter runway. This is one of the longest runways on the East Coast. And so there's the airplane actually maxes out at 840,000 pounds. That would be fuel and cargo and plane weight. So the runway that we have here could easily accommodate a fully loaded C-5.
So will this thing open in midair at all, like to deploy stuff from the air?
Not the front end, but the back end we would.
So this is the front
end.
This is the back.
Yes.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yep. So the back end we would open up in air to either let troops parachute out or to airdrop cargo, or if there was an emergency on board and we needed to jettison cargo, get it off board so we could make a safer landing if we had too much weight.
Okay, and I don't want to tell you guys what to do, but I see the front and the back, but I don't see any cockpit or where is this supposed to fly.
The cockpit would be upstairs.
Tell me a little bit about this cockpit here, because this is, first and foremost, I'm impressed of how high we are up in the air. This is already pretty daunting and we're still on the ground.
What you're looking at, you've got the throttles here. This airplane has 4 engines, so one of each of these levers represents one for each of the engines that we have. These here are T-handles. If there's a fire in one of the engines, the pilots would pull the T-handle out, and that would release fire suppression into that engine. You've got your yoke.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Is that a common thing? Like, this is pretty prominent in the display here on the dashboard. Is that a pretty common situation that you'd have something like that, a fire in an engine or something like that?
Yes, exactly. It's not often that we have engine fires. However, that clearly would be detrimental. They make these very accessible for us.
And this would be probably common in any commercial aircraft.
Absolutely, all airplanes. All airplanes are equipped.
And you don't normally get to see. Again, this is why the air shows are so cool. Is that you can come up and the public does have access to these, viewing of on the demonstration planes, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, so part of you were, telling me before is that these things are constantly in motion. You're bringing stuff all over the world, whether it's the presidential motorcade or it could be items needed by the DEA in South America to construction equipment for the FBI, the CIA, or maybe even the Marines or the Army, right?
Absolutely. You're spot on.
So here, and this is a pretty crucial base for all that stuff, right?
It is. This is the only East Coast base that has C-5s. The next closest one would be in Delaware, and then we would go out to the East Coast.
Okay, so where do I fire off some missiles? Is that these red buttons?
That is our missile system.
So if I press that, I'm going to hit the sausage vendor over there. I can see through the sights, my scope here. That sausage vendor is no longer there. So I'm fighting the battle of the bulge for Americans, overweight Americans all over the place. So I mean, it must use a lot of fuel when there's a lot of
it does.
weight and stuff on
We
board.
burn approximately 20,000 pounds of fuel per hour of flight.
Wow, that is a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah. Well, this is pretty cool. I mean, I'm not going to begin to ask you what every one of these buttons is
Okay.
because I don't think anybody really is interested. But the fact is that there's a lot going on up here. And again, not having gone into other, like a commercial airline cockpit, I mean, this is probably pretty standard of what it is to fly a plane. Right?
It is. This airplane actually went through an upgrade, so all of these screens that you see here are all digitized.
Okay, yeah.
We do have some of the old style gauges and things like that, but for the most part, everything has gone digital.
Okay.
The older models from the 60s would have been all gauges.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of interesting. So now it is more like a civilian airliner with all the digital screens.
You gotcha, yeah. I mean, I would have this over here. I mean, this is just my personal professional recommendation here, is that from what little I know, and I would swap these two things out. But other than that, I think it's pretty much perfect up here in the cockpit. So
Cool.
I give you guys a good A- in how you have all your equipment set up.
A little feng shui.
Yeah. All right, let's go check out the rest of the plane.
If you want to go back this way,
I did see yesterday.
but for our long hauls, we have 18 to 24-hour work days. So in order to maintain our rest program, we have this bunk room and an identical one right after it, where we would take turns taking our naps and
in flight or when you land
in
somewhere
flight.
even?
Yep, in flight.
Okay.
Yep.
How long can this stay up in the air? Like how?
Well, we can refuel in the air.
Yeah.
So there's no minimum amount of time that we could stay airborne as long as we continuously refueled. But a typical flight is 10 to 12 hours.
So, he was mentioning that you could go to South America, and Europe, and
Absolutely, yep.
Basically nonstop if you're fueling in the air, right?
Absolutely. Now, the new M model that's coming out for the C-5, that's an engine upgrade. For us here with the B model, we would fly from the United States to Europe, and then we would go to Iraq or Afghanistan, for example.
Okay.
The new B model, the M model, can actually make that whole flight over there without having to stop in Europe.
I was telling them that. I'm like, you got to get a new M model up because, you can't make this trip. And, finally my voice is being heard. It's a relief. So this is, relatively speaking, you would say that the conditions are cramped or what have you, but hey, it's not like you get this, on a commercial flight.
No, absolutely, no.
So
It's actually pretty good digs.
And this is
So
a lot of space, a lot of legroom here.
Yep, we have a workstation, dining table, if you will,
Okay.
and then we have our bathroom, and then our kitchen.
Wow. So here we really got some.
Little oven, refrigerator.
Will you have? Do you guys know when you're flying how to operate all this, or do you have a cook on board, or somebody like flight attendants, or anybody that handles things for you?
Well, we're load masters, so that would be our job.
That's
We're
the
like the
guys.
flight attendants.
So, where are the little mini vodka things you have?
Well, that's a private stash. We can't share that with you.
All right, I keep it up here.
We do.
I know there's secret compartments. So, and then more seating here.
More seating.
Typically, will all of this be filled on a flight?
It will. This whole area is reserved for the flight crew.
Okay.
And like I said, we have an 18 to 24-hour workday, so we take turns trying to relax and watch movies, kick back,
all right,
stay rested up. The other end that you saw previously, that's for the passengers or the troops that we would carry.
Okay.
And there's 73 seats back there specifically for them.